Hello and welcome to another sizzling edition of Better Call Darrell, the program high atop the Radiotherapy Network program tower. I'm sitting here with you on a wonderful Friday afternoon. Now, listen, some people may have already gotten away for the weekend. Some people may be, preparing the evening meal. Some people may be doing some other things that they can set it off for a Friday night. But this guy here, I'm here with you to ensure that you receive the best real-time information on the return to duty process for the Department of Transportation as a motor carrier, meaning the guys who drive the trucks, they drive chauffeurs, they drive cabs, all those different types of people. Those are the people who are we talking about today in the return to duty process. It's important that you know that the substance abuse professional, the SAP for the Department of Transportation, is the gateway to public safety. Without the SAP, none of this occurs. The DOT and FMCSA, they don't care if you don't get this in line because they'll hire someone 17 years of age with a waiver or 18 and pay them less and keep them pushing in that truck. That's the truth of the matter. Now, if you don't like what I said, then let's get this thing in order that you don't have to be one of the few millions of people who are having issues of returning to duty through the Department of Transportation process. So, again, my name is Darrell Hartley. I am a Department of Transportation substance abuse professional. I'm also a private counsel for addictions, alcohol, drug, substance abuse, and chemical dependency. I'm also a biblical counselor. So I am a chaplain and a counselor. And most people don't know what they need until they sit before you. I know exactly what you need because you've already told me over the phone before we met. And now this face-to-face is going to give you real-time value on what's next for your process. First thing is someone calls and they're looking for a substance abuse professional. Why are they calling? They're calling because the medical review officer with their company or corporation has contacted them, indicating that they failed a drug screen. And sometimes it's an alcohol screen. Incidentally, alcohol is a drug. So sometimes they fail one or both. And the medical review officer will give them a call. They'll give him or her a telephone call, notifying that they have failed a drug screen. Now the person on the other end who's receiving this news is saying to themselves, well, what do I do? Well, the MRO, medical review officer, will tell them that they have to find a SAP or a substance abuse professional. Why do they have to do that? Because without the SAP, the process does not work. Again, the SAP is the gateway to public safety. Why is the SAP the gateway to public safety? Because that's the way the Department of Transportation and FMCSA for the motor carriers want it. They want it just like that. There's no appeal process. Once you fail, either your company is going to allow you to go through a program to return to duty or you're terminated. It's as simple as what I just said. Now, the employee, whether they're still employed or they have been terminated, they have to seek a SAP. Once they find a SAP, what will happen is that the SAP will engage them with a series of questions, right? First thing that I do is I introduce myself because I want the person calm, I want them cool and collected because they've already encountered something traumatic. They've lost their job or they've been suspended without pay or they don't know what is hanging in the balance for them. So for me, I want to be as much of a counselor to them as possible. I want to direct them in such a way that they'll be reassured that this process will work for them. There are certain drugs that a person has taken to place them in this position. And again, we go back to alcohol screens. And remember, alcohol is a drug. So companies who have a zero tolerance with alcohol means you can't drink alcohol. You can't drink alcohol at all, even when you're off the clock. You know why? Because you can be called back to duty at any time. And if you call back to duty and you're under the influence, you can't drive. And you have to be in a position that you probably be set aside and be suspended until you pass a drug screen. The second part of that is if you're under the influence of cocaine or marijuana or heroin or methamphetamines or amphetamines or any type of drug that you're not supposed to be connected with, meaning you're not supposed to ingest to have a feeling of pleasure, I can say adult beverages and mind-altering substances, then there's another issue that you have that you can't drive. Remember, when you're driving, there are other people on the road. And when there are other people on the road, you're a hazard to them. Never mind the fact that the other people on the road who are not CDL drivers, they may also be indulging in adult beverages and mind-altering substances. So everybody's at risk when they're on the road. We want to make it plain and very simple here today. If you have an alcohol or a drug problem, there's something called rehab, right? And sometimes rehab works for people and sometimes it doesn't work because it's the seriousness of the approach that you take to ensure that your life is worth being of benefit to other people. So the person calls the SAP and they tell the SAP what has been going on. And the most popular story for me is the marijuana story. The marijuana story is, I went to a party. There was brownies there. There were cookies. There was cake. There were edibles. There was CBD. There was all types of stuff. Right now, before I proceed, I want to tell you this because this is important. Just because marijuana and its derivatives are legal in California and Colorado and other places, the feds say we don't care. They're not legal with us. And so the story goes that, well, if they're legal there, why? Because the federal government says it's not legal. And until they legalize it, which they probably won't, you still have to abide and abound in what they tell you. So the story is, my aunt cooked some brownies, and my uncle made cookies, and they had marijuana in it, and I ate. Sounds like the story in the Bible where, Eve ate from the fruit of the tree, and she was told not to, and then she saw Adam, and Adam ate too, and then the blame game started. Eve blamed the serpent, and then Adam blamed Eve, and then God said, "What have you done?" And then here we are. So once you get your results from the MRO, the DER, the designated employee representative, they know. So now they have to make a decision. Are you worth working in the company, the corporation, or do you need to go through the program, or what else are we going to do? While they're pondering that, they're giving you information to see a SAP. So you see the SAP. You see this SAP right here. This guy, BetterCallDarrell. You see him. And the reason why you see me is because I'm going to give you real-time information on what you have to do. Not what you should do, not what you better do, not what you ought to do, what you have to do. You have to do this. If you don't do this, you're just going to have yourself in a position where you can't drive because it's not going to go away. It's going to still be in the clearinghouse because someone's reported you. Why did they report you? Because they had to. If they don't report you, they're subject to audit. They're subject to audit. There are federal fines and other things that the feds can dangle in front of you that you really don't want to entertain. So you talk to the SAP. And the SAP tells you all the steps of the return to duty process, which you have to be able to do. So the first step is I need to meet you face to face. Now, we have COVID, and there's a system in place because of COVID. There's Skype, and there's FaceTime, and there's WhatsApp, there's Zoom. But I need to see you face to face. The reason I need to see you face to face is because I need to see if you're under the influence. I don't want a camera distorting the fact that you still may be under the influence. I need to see you face to face. That is a Department of Transportation mandate, actually. This has to be face to face. It's face to face because I need to see if you're still under the influence of mind-altering substances or adult beverages or both. I need to see if you're contrite. meaning you're sorry for what happened, not because you got caught. And I need to compile the reasons that I feel that you are eligible to return to duty. Once I've ascertained that, then there's something called an intake and screening that we have to do. The intake and screening is I take all of your biographical information, name, social, your driver's license, your address, your telephone number, you know, where it happened, what was the drug, what's the name of your company. I just keep going down the list, and I can ask as many questions as I want to because I want to ensure, as the gateway to public safety, the SAP, that you are eligible to return to duty. Once I've ascertained that and all those questions have been satisfied by me, I'm really satisfied with what I heard, then we talk about something called the clearinghouse. Now, the FMCSA DOT clearinghouse is something very, very simple to navigate. You know why it's simple to navigate? Because it is. And so when you go to the FMCSA website, it's actually www.fmcsa.dot.gov. And once you go there, you have to register with FMCSA website. And you register with that portal in that clearinghouse because with your email address and your password. Once that is approved, then it takes you to a next series of questions that you answer. And once you answer those, then you'll go to another page and your name will appear. It'll say, welcome John, welcome Barbara, welcome Pete, welcome Sheila, welcome John, welcome, did I say John already? Welcome SB. So once you do that, what happens also is you'll see a red stop sign there. And sometimes you won't see a red stop sign. Why won't you see the red stop sign? Because although you've been reported to FMCSA DOT, it just hasn't entered into the system where it appears where you have a violation. Some people get happy like they've hit the lotto if they don't see the violation, but it's forthcoming. Sometimes it takes a day, it takes a week, it takes a month, but it'll get there. And once it's there, the SAP will assist the client in navigating through that to safe harbor. Once you see the red stop sign, you scroll down, and it'll also tell you the steps that you have to be able to take. The substance abuse professional for the Department of Transportation has to do steps 1 through 3 in the return to duty process. It takes about 3 to 5 minutes, depending on the degree of difficulty and the speed of the computer and all those different types of things. But it takes about 3 minutes. It takes me about 3 minutes. Then the other part of that is once that's done, what I normally do with the person is I screenshot that I've completed that process for them, right? But before we do that, let me go back to what they have to be able to do. Once they provide me all the biographical information and such, then what I do is I set them up for a class, right? So a class can be based on the offense. So let's say it's cocaine. Let's say it's meth. Let's say it's heroin. The more serious the drug is, the longer you have to come to the class. So 4, 6, 8 hours, right? And if it's multiple violations and it's multiple drugs, then I have to determine whether I'm going to refer the person out to rehab, right? Or I have something called the weekend intensive. It's 4 consecutive weekends of Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 hours of me yelling at you, of me pounding on the table, of me making sure that you go over your information, that you commit this to memory, that you place yourself in an optimum position of success, that this never occurs again. Do you really want me yelling at you for 8 hours on a Friday, wait 8 hours on a Saturday, wait hours on you heard what I said, it's 8 hours each day. I don't mind doing it. I yell for the Cowboys all the time, and the Lakers, and the Cardinals, and the Blues, and whatever else I like. So, yelling's not an issue. But will you want to be able to pay that price to come see me 4 consecutive weekends at 8 hours each? No, you don't. So then we're trying to put you in a position right now that this doesn't occur. Not just the weekend intensive, but you put this behind you. You ever been in a bad storm? I have. And in the bad storm, right? It's like I'm always coming through Oklahoma. It's like the hail is waiting for me. It's like it's raining, and it's like, oh, there he is. It's rain upon him, and the rain is hard, and I try to get off the road, and I try to hide, but there's nowhere because it's Oklahoma and it's flat, right? And it's just, and then the flooding happens. It's all those things, right? That's what happens when you pop hot, when a drug screen, an alcohol screen, a dual screen. That's what happens because you now feel that your world is at odds with you. No, the world didn't do anything to you. You did this. So you say, why is the guy getting at us? Because I don't want you making this mistake again, ever again. This may be the only opportunity for you to get this right. So let's go back. So when you give the biographical information, it populates a initial evaluation return to duty report. What the initial evaluation return to duty report is, it's a document that you need to return to duty. If you don't have this document, you cannot return to duty. You also need another document called a return to duty follow-up report. If you do not have this document, you cannot return to duty. If you do not take care of your violation in the confines of the clearinghouse, you cannot return to duty. So you say, wow, I got all these things going, I got inhibitors, man, you just don't know what's going on. I understand, but you still have to do these things. Let's go to the initial evaluation report. The initial evaluation return to duty report is something that indicates that you have gone through the education process and you understand the education process and you understand what's next, meaning what you have to do as far as the follow-up return to duty report and the clearinghouse and those types of things, right? And the SAP will walk you through all of those things. The education process is something wonderful because there's somebody in the room probably banging on the table and yelling at you and making sure that you get this because he doesn't want you walking away saying that you didn't know or no one told you. No one told me and I didn't know, a variation of those things. So let's say you have a class for 4 hours. It's intense, it's comprehensive. Let's say it's 6 hours. It's intense, it's comprehensive. Let's say it's 8 hours. It's intense and comprehensive. So the program has teeth. The teeth are sharp and they bite. And it's for your benefit. It's not for the SAP's benefit. It's for your benefit because you're the person returning to duty. And if you've ever been to a Better Call Darrell live action return to duty class, you know it's interactive, it's intense, and comprehensive. So you get the initial evaluation return to duty report out of the way. And you only can get that out of the way because it's dependent upon what's going on in the clearinghouse. So sometimes you'll get that report the same day or the next day or the day after or something like that. It just depends on, because it's a timing mechanism. For me anyway, it's a timing mechanism. I want to ensure that you receive the initial evaluation return to duty report with you being cleared by the SAP in the clearinghouse. Why is that important? It's important because for continuity purposes, when the employer or future employer looks at that, they see that you've gone through the course, they see that you've been cleared in the clearinghouse, and now we're waiting 7 to 10 days on what's going on with the follow-up. The follow-up is that you're going to a series of NA or AA or both of those classes, however many the SAP designates. And once you've completed those, with the homework that's attached to that, oh, you didn't think there was homework? And the homework that's attached to that, the homework is normally you reading the material, and then there's some advanced material that you'd be reading. There'd be some additional YouTube videos that you'd be watching and some other ASM and psychological videos that you'd be watching that pertain to the actual drug that you popped hot on. When I say popped hot, that's what happened because body temperature is 98.6, right? And when they tested you for the drug, that's what happened. You popped hot on it. So that's where pop hot comes from. I want you to understand that when you go through this process, you're not out of the woods yet because it takes some time often when FMCSA receives the information from the employer. So let's say the SAP clears you in step 1, step 2, step 3. There's steps 4, 5, and 6. Sometimes it's just step 4. It's rare, but sometimes it's just step 4. Sometimes it's steps 4 and 5. Sometimes, and all the time normally, it's steps 4, 5, and 6. What those steps are return to duty. So there's a drug screen involved. So normally you have one return to duty drug screen. One return to duty drug screen. And then however many drug screens that the SAP assigns the individual, male or female, for the balance of that year. So let's say it's December of 2021 going into 2022. If the person has had the return to duty drug screen in 2020, then they still have to do those however many prescribed by the SAP for 2022. Sometimes you can get the minimum, which is 6, and sometimes you can get the maximum, which is however many the SAP wants to give to you. Now, I'm nobody's warden, probation officer, parole agent, judge, jury, executioner. I'm the gateway to public safety. And if I have any feeling that you're not taking this program seriously, then we'll do something to adjust the process that you'll find not as enjoyable that you thought you might have felt. Because this is nothing to play around with. You're playing with your own life, never mind somebody else's, if you're not doing everything that's in accordance with DOT and FMCSA protocol. So you have your documentation in your hand. So when you have your documentation, then the company that you want to work with, because you can't even apply for a job without going through the program. I'm going to say that again. You cannot even apply for employment without going through the program. Why? Because one of the things is going to happen if you go in paperless, meaning nothing in your hand to present to the prospective employer, they're going to check the clearinghouse. They're going to do that anyway, but they're going to check the clearinghouse. They're going to see that you haven't done anything, and they're going to laugh you out the broom. Right? So don't put yourself at risk of being dishonored and disrespected because you've already gone through that. And you're going to have doors closed on you too. And let's go back to that. Often people believe that the SAP is supposed to get you a job, or the work that the SAP is done is supposed to get you the job. And we all know that shouldn't be true because it's not true. You have to get yourself the job. Every one of us who's ever been in a position where we've been terminated or laid off or a combination of both, guess what we had to do? We had to go find another source of employment because you're still going to have those things called bills. You're still going to have rent or a lease or your mortgage. You have a car note. And if you don't have a car note, you still have insurance and you still have maintenance on that vehicle. So you still need a form or forms, or as I like to call, oceans of income to accommodate your interest. So it is not the SAP's responsibility to find you a job. And please do not blow up the SAP's telephone. Please do not blow up the SAP's telephone on a Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because the SAP's probably not available. I am available, but not the way you think I'm available. Although my sign says 24 hours, I am not a robot. I don't answer the phone 24 hours. But if you leave me a message, that's the key. If you call and you don't leave me a message, I'm going to consider it unimportant. Remember, I'm the SAP. You're not. And because I'm the SAP, I dictate what is and what isn't. And that's the sweetest way I can say it to you, right? I don't baby people. I don't hunt you down. I don't need your money like that. What I need to know is you have a commitment and you're dedicated to to getting yourself back in order to be the person that you know that you are. Now, once you receive your documentation and everything's clear in the clearinghouse, and you've already applied for employment and they want to interview you via telephone or in person, you have your documentation to support the fact that you've gone through the program, that you are clear in the clearinghouse, that you have your follow-up information, and you're ready to go back to duty. Often also, people think that when they can't work with the DOT driving trucks, that the license has been suspended. If your license has been suspended, the Department of Motor Vehicles will contact you with a letter indicating that your license has been suspended or revoked for the following reasons. Department of Transportation doesn't do that. They want you to go through a program if you're eligible. And if you're eligible, you can go through the program and everything get themselves restored. But as far as this thing being permanently removed from your record and that, this is not like getting a felony or a misdemeanor expunged. No, it's still there. The reason why is there's a running record of what you did or what you did not do. And FMCSA has that. They have it in real time. It's logged, the time and the date, all of that. So that's telling you that you cannot commit another offense. You can't offend again. And if you do, the probability of you working again is probably slim to none. The silence there is that's the truth. So you got yourself back in a position. Somebody's hand gives you the handshake and they want you to work. But sometimes it doesn't work like that. Sometimes you'll hear this: we can't hire you for 2 years. We can't hire you because of insurance issues. We can't hire you because we got to be able to trust you. All those things. And it sounds very demoralizing, but they have the right to do that. That's their company. And if the insurance is saying that they can't hire you because, then you go to the next person. If I were you, because I've been through similar matters, if I were you, I would be filling out 30 or 40 applications a day because you have time to do it. I've seen the applications. They're not that long. They're not. It's not a lengthy process. It's maybe one page, And you say 40. Well, I mean, if you want to return to duty, somebody will hire you. Someone somewhere will hire you because they need drivers. Let's say it together. Someone somewhere will hire me because they need drivers. But you are the package, and you have to allow yourself to be opened by people and demonstrate the things that you can do. You're elevating yourself to positions that you had never even realized. Optimum positions of success. And what's so profound here? You can do it. You can do it. You. I'm talking to you. You can do this. But I can't, and no one else can want it more than you. So let us review. The Department of Transportation, Federal Motor Carriers Administration return to duty process is very simple. It is you get your results from the medical review officer, and always remember that the DER, the designated employee representative, they already know the results. And somewhere in the midst of that, they made a decision for you to return to duty with going through a program, or they'll just straight terminate you. And that's their right to do so. So once they do that, make one of those decisions, you still have to go through a Department of Transportation FMCSA program. Why? Because your violation is not going anywhere until it's resolved. So once you get yourself in a position to get the issue resolved, then what matters most is you're on the right track of getting this matter resolved. Back to making the income or more that you were making previously. Letting people understand that I made an error and I will never make that error again. Putting yourself in a position where your family and friends and other people respect you because although you made an error, you put yourself back on top to proceed. So, with me being your SAP or someone being your SAP in general, you have contact with them. And you can contact them as much as you need to, because not only are they the gateway to public safety, they're your advocate. And I want to be able to advocate for you, advocate you in such a way that when we talk about advocacy, it's like, you know that this person's in my corner. You know this person's going to speak for me. When you are in the return to duty process and the new employer or the past employer says to you, hey, what about this? What about that? You kindly say to them, would you please call my SAP? I'm really not sure about that. Once they speak with me, they'll have all the real-time information that they need, and they'll be fine. Once again, my name is Darrell Hartley. You can reach me at www.bettercalldarrell.com. My email is returntoduty@bettercalldarrell.com. And my telephone number is area code 469-557-2127. That's area code 469-557-2127. And don't forget the website again, www.bettercalldarrell.com. I am hopeful and prayerful that this information that you received today will be of great benefit for you. And if you need other types of counseling services beyond Department of Transportation return to duty, I'm an addictions, alcohol, drug, substance abuse, and chemical dependency counselor, as well as a biblical counselor. You can set an appointment by calling that same telephone number, area code 469-557-2127. I really enjoy sitting here talking to you because this is what I do. I love being able to roll out the bed if I need to and be able to do this and place people in optimal positions to succeed. Success is everything, but the accomplishment and achievement that goes along with it, it doesn't get any better than that. When you get yourself back in that truck and you start rolling, you start knowing that, wow, I didn't even know I'd ever be back in this position. But you are. You are. And those of you who aren't, you will. You will. Thank you for the opportunity to be present, serve and support you. And when I see you again, I'll have a big smile on my face as I do now. Thank you. God bless you. And may He keep you.